Yeah, well, I think because people confuse all the time, like we took the video. No, it was another crew that took the video. We watched it for 5 minutes with our eyeballs, and there was 4 of us, and we all have the same story. We all saw the same stuff. We all came back and looked at each other and scratched our head and said, WTF, I mean, serious? What was that? And then what do? You move on. We never saw it again. I imagine they probably saw him on radar after that, but I think
they're probably seeing him on radar all the time. They just don't bring it to the attention of the general public.
Oh yeah, because if you don't, for a ship when they see something and you go, what is that? Well, you don't have any way to go out there and look at it.
Like when you're talking about how they were informing you that they were seeing these things previous to your mission. When you're doing this exercise and they let you know that they're seeing these things, did you say, hey, how frequent is this? Is this something that happens all the time?
I didn't get into that. Ours was more of the moment of, when he's telling us, hey, for the last 2 weeks we've been tracking these things.
Right.
And we don't know what they are.
But you don't know whether or not it was just those 2 weeks or maybe it was a year ago. There was other similar situations or... There's
other situations that have happened out there, but I would say, for this, I don't even know. One, you got to take it serious. Yeah. We have a tendency, if we don't know what it is, if we just ignore it, it'll go away. And I joke, there was an incident it's probably not too far off the same time frame, where I think it was like the Constellation was doing her workups before she got decommissioned, and an a Soviet Oscar-class submarine surfaced behind her, right? And then it's like, go to battle stations, World War III. How did this foreign submarine get in our area and has been monitoring our workups? That's a big deal.
Right.
I said, but now we go out and we have these things that are coming at will, and there's nothing we can do about it. We don't know what they are. We have confirmed sighting by 2 aircrew, 4 of us, 2 planes, that said, look, this is not an airplane. This is not a weather balloon. This is not a blip. It has performance well beyond, and the airplanes that we were flying at the time were literally brand new Super Hornets right out of the Boeing factory. I mean, these were brand new, first Block 2 series that came out. And you go, why wasn't something done? It's like, we don't know what it is. I think it's good now, the moves that have happened over the last, 2 years since the original article came out that, now there's a new reporting for the pilots. The Navy's acknowledged, hey, these things, we don't know what they were. They're starting to take it serious because, I know there are other events that are not out, recent events where people have been called in to go, hey, I've seen this thing. So the investigation process is still going on. We don't stop. The military doesn't stop. Even if you take funding away, we don't stop. We don't stop until we're told to stop. So, what's going on? You go, well, ATIP ended. They spent $4.5 million a year on it. I think it was $22 million over the 5 years. So you go, what are they doing since then? Well, I'm pretty sure there's still people looking at this, and there's still people that are taking this serious. I will tell you that I won't get into specifics, but there are people inside the United States government that are taking this serious. And I've been down to D.C. twice to talk to folks, behind closed doors to go because they want to hear the story. And I've got a lot of, you got to be joking. I mean, this seriously happened, and I'm like, yeah, it did happen, and it is real. What are you doing about it?
So, what kind of people are you talking to?
High-level government officials is what I'll say. And most of that is because that conversation is between me and them, and I don't want people speculating, but you can say high-level government officials I have talked to.
Well, that was always the speculation about, what would someone do if they became president? Well, the first thing I would do is I would tell everybody about the UFOs. I would ask immediately what's going on. And I always thought about it. I said, how many people actually know what's going on? And how much of the information? I mean, it's not like... If they're dealing with something like this, like your experience, it seems like what you described is what is known. So it's this anomalous event where this thing defies our current understanding of technology, and then it's gone.
Yes.
And so what do you have? You don't have anything else other than that. Like, what other information does anybody have?
Well, I would say this because I've talked to Bob. We did
Bob Lazar.
Yeah, we did an event together, and I'll leave it to everyone it's up to you to believe Bob. I'll say this: Bob's a normal guy. Bob's not crazy.
He's not crazy at all.
Not at all.
That was the weirdest thing about talking to him.
But when you look at it and go, because I had asked Bob, I said, what he describes in the technology when he talks about his story, I said, well, do you honestly think we could, reverse engineer it? I said, how long do you think it would take us? And his response to me was another 100 years. He goes, Dave, it was so far beyond. He goes, the stuff that he says he worked on. He's like, he was on your podcast because I watched it. Hey, there was no wires, and because I had asked him. When he said you first described the ship that he got to see, he said, I used to say, they built it and then it was like wax and you'd heat it up. He goes, now I would say it was built with 3D printing because now with 3D printing, we can build things literally from the ground up and it's basically built as one, not panels, no rivets. It's just made. Right. And so when you talk about that and you go, well, it's still another 100 years. So you go, well, what if you had the technology? We still, if what Bob says is correct, we still don't understand it. And how fast would it take us to understand that? I mean, if it's driven by something that we don't even have on Earth, which is when he talks about that element, we can't create it. We can create it for a microsecond, and then it decays, and we go,
element
okay,
115.
Yeah. So I think we're still a long ways off. I'll argue with the people that go, are we really alone? I was telling Jeremy we used to go out on goggles. Out in the middle of the Pacific, there's no light pollution.
Goggles?
Night vision goggles, so we can see. Well, you go out at night, I'd be on like a tanker hop or something, just hanging out, not doing anything, driving around in circles with the autopilot on. You just turn all the lights down in the cockpit so you have no light pollution, and you just roll your head back and look up. There's billions and billions and billions of stars out there. And, I always look up because I'm like, are we alone? And I look up and go, well, if we're the only ones around, and everything I'm looking at, it's a pretty sad place. It's a pretty lonely universe. I asked my astrophysics prof that once. I said, you believe in extraterrestrial life? And she's like, of course not. And I said, well, there's billions and billions of planets. You think we're it? I mean, just the probability of it is you'd go, oh, there's probably something else out there. And I'm not crazy. I'm just opening up the possibility that we are not the only planet that has life on it.